Welcome back to another episode of Kimble Cast. I'm Jibs.
I'm Moss.
And I'm Cooper.
Today, what are we talking about here? Ah, the judicial branch. So this is episode 2, and we're gonna be talking about restraint, activism, everything like that. So, but first, we'll talk about. Let's see, Federalist 78. Do one of you guys want to start with the quote?
I'll go ahead. So basically, my quote from Federalist 78 that I chose was: "The general liberty of the people can never be endangered from that quarter, as the judiciary remains truly distinct from both the legislative and executive." And my reasoning for this was because I chose this quote because it supports the fact that the I wrote bench.
It's fine. Simple.
Judicial branch of the government is for its people, stating they can never feel endangered.
It,
So yeah, basically,
yeah, it's a bench. It's a bench of people, pretty much.
it's a bench.
People refer it as that, so it's not wrong. People, I knew what you meant.
True.
Cooper, do you have your quote, or is it the same one?
Uh, I kind of chose the first
Okay.
quote. I'm going for restraint here. The judiciary, from the nature of its functions, will always be the least dangerous to the Constitution. The judiciary has no influence over the sword or the purse, no direction either of the strength or of the wealth of the society, and can take no active resolution whatsoever. It has neither force nor will, but merely judgment. Sorry,
The society in this
Yeah.
day and age.
Society.
Insert Joker.
But okay.
Society.
Anyway,
All right. Yeah, I just want to point out that I'm going for restraint too. I forgot to mention.
So I'll be the only one in
Yeah,
activism.
that one, the first one supports restraint in my eyes because it literally says that the judiciary can take no active resolution whatsoever, and it will not go out of its way to damage the Constitution. It's meant to judge and uphold it, right? So, and that's kind
Yeah.
of not what activism is.
So
I agree with that.
I did the same as Moss, same quote, and so
Mhm.
these quotes are more for arguing for a judicial branch. So you're already justifying your point, which is right. That's fine. But the quotes are mainly there just to justify a judiciary. So I said the general liberty of the people can never be endangered from that quarter, as the judiciary remains truly distinct from both the legislative and executive. So it's a good branch because they only have the power to interpret the laws. They have no power to actually enforce them. So, like with Jackson, I think we talked about it today in class.
John Lagon. My name is John Lagon.
That's a different guy. That's a different guy. But Jackson was like,
Same difference.
yeah, he made his decision. Now he can try to enforce it. Yeah, bro. But
That's another thing with the Supreme Court. Like, I was doing a bunch of work and catching up on AP Gov work, as one does on their Friday night. And I was writing, and it's just really incredible how the Supreme Court is like the high and mighty of everything. But then you look at it, and it's really like people don't have to do that. You just have to have one executive who does not want to follow the law put in place, and they don't have to do it because the Supreme Court really just can't do anything about it in the end.
yeah, I mean,
and there's also like a bunch of checks to keep it in place, so it's not like it can easily take too much power, even with its implied powers that were established. Congress can still like edit the law that they declared unconstitutional.
I think in that way, Kimble has brainwashed me because I now think it's the best branch because they're literally like, I would say the least power maybe because the fact that they can't enforce anything. Executive can enforce, judicial can make and kind of enforce, kind of, but executive,
Judicial is really the foundation of everything.
they basically say, you're done, you're done, like you're done, you're done.
You're
That's
done.
really all they say. Like, this is unconstitutional, goes against the Constitution. Sorry, you're done. And speaking of unconstitutional, you guys want to talk about Marbury v. Madison?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Woo.
All right. Marbury versus Madison. That is a very important case. So I took a lot of notes on this because I quite honestly found it pretty fascinating. So basically, summary of it, if I were to summarize it, Marbury versus Madison is basically Thomas Jefferson defeated John Adams in the 1800 presidential election. Before Jefferson took office, Congress passed an act which created a new court, added judges, and gave the president more control over appointment of the judges. Adams wanted to frustrate his successor, so he used the act to appoint 16 circuit judges and 42 new
The
justices
modern
of
technique.
the peace. Yes.
Continue.
Foreshadowing, history repeats itself. They were approved by the Senate, but they would not be valid until their commissions were delivered by the Secretary of the State. William Marbury had been appointed Justice of the Peace in the District of Columbia, but his commission was not delivered. Marbury petitioned the Supreme Court to compel the new Secretary of State, James Madison, to deliver the documents. Marbury, joined by 3 other similarly situated appointees, petitioned for a writ of mandamus compelling the delivery of the commissions. And it was important. This case was really important because it established judicial review.
Not gonna lie, I was fully expecting you to say the other one, the other writ.
I'm just copying
Certiorari.
what the website
Yeah.
said. Certiorari.
Thank you, thank you for that.
I always feel so weird because I'm in class and Mr. Kimble's
Calls
just
on you.
like, "Hey," I'm just like, "Writ of certiorari, certiorari."
That is, I can't do that. I just if he did that to me in class, like just called on me, I'm like,
I always get so nervous, but it's
well-
fine because I want to show off my accent.
That's pretty good.
abilities.
It's pretty good, yeah.
I would blend in like camouflage with the British.
You could fool
Can you
me.
buy me some tea and crumpets?
Oh.
Is it what's a crumpet? What
No one knows.
It's like
man.
a
It's probably a
biscuit.
pastry.
is it?
It's a biscuit. Yeah, it's like a biscuit you have with tea. Crumpet. Google's
A
crumpet.
crumpet is a small griddle bread made from an unsweetened batter of water or milk, flour, and yeast. So basically,
Yeah, it's really
a
gross.
poor man's pancake.
It's
You're supposed to have really good tea, like really good tea, and then really crappy pastries.
Why would they do that?
So that the tea, because the tea has to be the highlight. You know, if you're fancy, you're gonna spend all this money on tea, and that's why the whole crisis with the throwing the tea over the boats thing, Boston Tea Party, tea was just that important.
All right, guys, we'll get everyone to dress up as Native Americans and then throw all the tea off. Sounds like a good Halloween plan.
Yes, reenactment, but make it not racist. That would be good.
I don't know if that's possible.
No, the racism is the integral
Yeah,
part. You
we
don't
probably
understand.
couldn't eradicate that.
Yeah, that's a big part of history. Okay, so we went through Marbury v. Madison. Basically said, yeah, we can declare stuff not cool. Pretty much.
It's a funny case though, because James Madison was like, it'd be funny if I just did not give them their commissions. Then they're not judges, right?
It works.
It's like let me get these commissions real quick, and then just like
pulled an Andrew Jackson type beat.
The thing is though, so all the commissions that were left on the table, right? So it turned over to Jefferson, but Jefferson's took some commissions. Like he delivered some, just not Marbury and other people's. I don't know why, for whatever reason. He just took maybe half the pile and delivered it and made them judges, but not Marbury, not you in particular. Sorry, bro. I don't know why, but anyway. Let's see. Ooh, Article 3. The Constitution. Where it talks about express powers and informal. So I only got two express and informal. So express.
You mean Article 2 or Article 3?
Is it Article 3? Article 3.
Article 3.
Not bad.
Article 3, Section 2. Yeah.
So Article 3, I don't know. Tell me if you guys found anything else, but I said interpret laws and the Chief Justice presides over impeachment of president. That's like the only two I found. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah. I basically had that and um yeah, just trial by jury and gives the power for treaties to be made or which shall be made under their authority.
That's why
That's in regards to the judicial
that's why
branch.
judicial branch is so
And
good.
treason, the Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason.
Treason. Okay. So is that like so basically like any sort of stupid stuff, any high ranking officer, what's the like term? What does it say?
What are you talking about for
Yeah,
treason?
like who does it describe a federal person, federal worker, like what or
Um,
elected official? I don't know. If we don't know, that's fine.
I don't
Okay.
know.
I just wonder. Cooper's gonna fact check.
Yeah, I feel like it was referring to
uh,
just the general of the judicial branch, but I have
I
no
don't
clue.
know.
mm,
Find anything?
actually, oh, treason is in section 3. Uh,
Article 3,
Yeah,
Section
yeah.
3.
section 3.
No
Mhm.
person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of two. Yeah,
So person. So
it's just person. It doesn't say anything about like an act, like an official. I guess if you just aided or gave comfort to the United States enemies, that's
yeah.
treason.
So Abraham Lincoln Gaming.
Yeah,
But okay, so
except they didn't even get their trial.
you just said, yeah, rid of habeas corpus, guys. Like it's cool. It's what makes our
Who needs
country
that
great.
anyway?
But
Who needs that? Just throw that one out the window real quick.
here's a dictionary word, guys. There is a word to throw something out of a window.
What is it?
Defenestrate. Don't ask why I know
Defenestrate?
that, but I'm gonna defenestrate you out.
How?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna defenestrate you. I'm gonna throw you out a window.
There
That's a
is a
great word.
running joke in my physics class. A lot of really amazing things happen in my physics class, if you can already
Yeah.
tell. But there's this joke that Aiden Zelinsky wants to throw this girl out a window.
What?
So I guess I could just say
To
he wants to
defenestrate.
defenestrate her out the window.
Interesting. Anyway,
Yeah, and the teacher makes jokes about defenestrating her as well.
Oh wow.
Right, back on
back on
topic.
topic. Yes. Uh, why is the judicial branch important? Oh wow.
It's important because, like I said before, it establishes the baseline for literally almost everything. It initiates, well, it incorporates a lot of important factors into the branches of the United States, um, passes a lot of laws, and holds a lot of like checks on the other parts of government.
Pretty much. The government doesn't have to respect it. The other parts, the other branches, don't have to respect it, but they do it anyway in hopes that they should. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Were you
Yeah.
gonna say something, Cooper?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's super important because it's like a giant check on the other two branches.
Mm-hmm.
Congress passes something that infringes on the Constitution, bam, gone. The president releases an unconstitutional executive order, like 9066 FDR, bam,
Mm-hmm.
unconstitutional.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's what I wrote about in my essay actually
Executive orders.
Too.
about express power executive orders. Yeah, about executive orders and like the whole Japanese internment camp situation. Oh, there's a siren. That's great for my mic.
It's not. It's barely hearing it.
Okay. It's coming up the road now.
It's
It's
coming
fine.
to
I
my
can
house.
edit this out.
Wait, where do you live, Cooper? Oh. Well, then
Like
we're
you can
50
see
minutes
my
apart.
house.
Is it gone?
Aw. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could leave that in.
You could. That would be funny.
Maybe.
It's the sound of the police. Woo,
Yeah.
woo. It's the sound of the
Oh my
True.
police.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leave
I don't know.
that
Was
in
that the
right
police or
there.
was
You
that the
need to keep
ambulance?
that
Like,
in. It was the ambulance, but it's the same difference.
is it the same
Speaking
siren?
of rap,
Is that the same?
speaking of
No,
no,
it's
it's not.
wee
Ah,
wee wee.
okay, okay.
Oh my gosh! Remember in fourth grade when people like would copy the Minions and be like, we are,"
No,
over and
You don't
over
I didn't.
again.
you don't remember the minion
I didn't go to you
phase, like
guys'
where
school.
everyone
Did you guys
just
go to the same school? I don't know. No.
No, I went to a
no.
private
Oh
school,
no,
and Cooper went to Elmer Wolf.
I I
That's
never had
right.
a minion phase. We had a phase in fifth grade where girls drank water out of a hand sanitizer container.
What?
I don't know. They thought they were gaming.
That was me. That was me.
But yes, they did do
Like,
that.
Definitely. But you can pump the water. What's the
No, they
big
couldn't
deal?
pump.
That's
that
No,
is
awesome.
no, 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 no,
You
no,
can
no, no,
no,
no.
pump the
Okay, okay.
water.
no,
Listen.
no.
So you know those like small like bottles, like the ones that you just kind of spritz on your hand.
Like the squirty
Yeah,
ones.
yeah. They
Yeah.
use those. I don't know why they wanted to drink water
What?
out of like a
That's like
Oh
drinking
my
water
god.
of a plastic
yeah
bag. Like
1 milliliter.
A plastic
Like
bag.
a plastic bag. I'm gonna
guys,
stop it.
Grammar is
look at my
amazing
bottle,
tonight.
which is 20 milliliters of water, guys.
Let me just pour it into a small barely 2 ounce bottle of hand sanitizer. That is surely
We
better.
actually had
That is
we
surely
actually
better.
got hand sanitizer banned
You could boil a whole
What?
ramen noodle with
because
that.
too many people were doing it.
All right, let's talk about our slogans. My slogan for judicial restraint.
You just had a restraint moment right there.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Judicial restraint makes America
But
great.
hold on. Before we talk
Ooh.
about
Play laughing track now.
that, well, let's define it first.
Judicial restraint is the limitation of a law made, and judicial activism is the expansion of a law made. That's like really, really summarized.
That's about that's fine.
I think what activism is like when you when a judge takes their own opinion and basically disregards they basically disregard past landmark cases in the Constitution in favor of making a precedent that they think will make America better. So
Yeah.
like they interpret the Constitution differently than people before.
Yeah, and judicial restraint is the idea that the Constitution should not be changed, and it should be like judges should kind of like keep it to themselves. Opinions in the outside world should not be brought into court.
Yeah. Because we
And
get like
you said at the beginning,
We're
sorry,
good.
Jibs, I cut
We're
you
good.
off, but like you said at the beginning, both of these things are kind of extreme, so everything should be kind of in mediation, and like there should be a mix of both in the Constitution. Not in the Constitution, but in the way we carry out laws.
Judicial
Right now.
review.
Yeah.
Well, what side were you guys taking on this one? Because I just want to hear you guys' side. What are you guys taking?
My personal
Yeah.
opinion, like,
What you would do?
is that it's a case by case situation, like most things in the government. Like, it's not that one sided.
Not always.
You know, it depends. Sometimes I think it's activism, and sometimes I think the judge, like, what in the case of like Plessy versus Ferguson and Brown versus Board of Education, right? The president was set that segregation is okay. It's a-okay, you know. But then
but there needs to be some restraint there.
activism was what brought about the change, right? So that's obviously really important. But there are also cases where, I mean, it's opinionated, but there's also cases where people think that restraint keeps the law, you know, where it needs to be.
Like most, I would say most left-leaning people would say Roe v. Wade. Oh, look, that's a precedent, 1973. So they're gonna instantly hop on that and say that's a precedent. Restraint. What were you gonna say, Moss?
Yeah. Like, I totally agree with both of you. Like, a good example of this is actually in one of the cases we mentioned, which is just Marbury versus Madison. Like, on one side, you you shouldn't be allowed to hold people's what were they called, commissions. You should not be allowed to hold people's commissions just because of your own like beliefs, just to kind of like pull strings,
That's fair.
tug on strings. So that's a scenario where restraint might come into more play. But another thing is like activism is also a very prevalent thing in a lot of other cases. So it really depends. Like if you were to straight up make a law, be like, hey, no more judicial activism, or hey, no more judicial restraint, like most things in America, that would just like destroy everything. Because as Mr. Kimble mentioned in like the first week of school, America is like a seesaw, constantly balanced. If it's unbalanced the slightest bit, everything goes to chaos and shreds, and that's how it is with a lot of other places around the world. But if the scale leans one way or the other, it's just anarchy and it's not fun. So
Yeah. So the
yeah.
seesaw you were talking about, like left, right? So we're getting increasingly divided, and I don't really get why on AP stuff, because I think for AP, anyone taking an AP test means they're like pretty invested or at least good at that subject. And the purpose of
Mm-hmm.
government, the class government, I think at the end is to have a better understanding of how it works, so you're more informed of your voting decisions. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of teaching us how it works in a public sense. So you're like taught how to formulate your opinions, how to have a decision on this,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't like midways. They don't like having
Yeah.
the middle point. They don't like you being center. I don't get that, because that's just
Mm-hmm.
driving our country further apart. I feel like eventually it will.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it'll lead.
Yeah. It's definitely a class for the more mature of people, because not gonna delve into this, but there are definitely some people who need to become more open-minded and more like just aware of this all situations. And I feel like this class is really teaching you both sides of the story from standpoints that aren't as publicized, and in that way you can kind of formulate your decision while taking a step back and really seeing the whole historical truth. Because I know that's something for me that I've had to work on with myself. Like I've had to step back and kind of walk away from the modern day issues and start from the beginning and work my way up to really ask myself the question, why is this happening now? And now how can I formulate an opinion based on the past and the present? And I feel like this class really like helps me better understand things that are happening today from a more mature standpoint.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
there.
You know, I think an example of what I think there's a Supreme case going on right now about New York handgun laws,
Is
right?
it?
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? Do you know?
Actually, I don't know. Let
Look that
me.
up.
I'm gonna research it real quick. But
Get back to us on that.
yes, so uh, NBC News reports that the Supreme Court is actually like appearing skeptical of the New York law limiting handguns, right? So like I've heard that they're, and this is a headline I'm reading
Mm.
right now, but I've also heard that they're heavily scrutinizing uh, the New York's law, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think like this doesn't reflect my opinion, but I think that they might practice judicial restraint and stick to the exact text of the Constitution and just say, you have the right to bear arms. They can't take this away.
Yeah. What
So
is the law right now? Like, is it for guns or against guns?
it's against them because it's New York. New York tends to be a
Okay.
very liberal,
Liberal
uh,
environment.
handgun or very liberal state,
Yep.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that generally goes against this, like a lot of freedom with the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So is this New York State, the state of New York, or the city of New York?
I believe it's
Uh, Double check that.
I believe it's New York
Okay,
State.
because I know New York
Mm.
City just got a new mayor elected. Um, I want to say his name's Eric Adams. So that would be really weird as mayor going in and then having that happen already. But I guess not. So, well, so
Here's another thing. Go ahead, Jibs.
oh no, go first because I was gonna summarize everything.
No, you summarize everything, and then I'll go in with my
Okay,
point.
so I think all of us can agree, basically, middle, somewhere in the middle. I lean towards activism because I don't want
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Same.
like Plessy v. Ferguson to ever exist, or Dred Scott decision,
Mm-hmm.
Scott v. Sanford.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not cool. And the fact that
Yeah.
what's his name? Earl Warren, yeah, one of the best chief justices,
Mm-hmm.
overturned that because he was activist. He was like, yeah, it's separate but not equal. Is in not inherently equal. It's
Yeah.
not how it works. So um
It's a step up, but it's also a step down.
so we could eventually it's a step up from slavery, yes, but not where we want to be.
It's not.
Not where we want to
Yes.
be. So go ahead. What were you gonna
Yeah,
say then?
exactly. So, two things. One's kind of quick, and one is an opening to another
Okay.
discussion. Um, First thing, on my paper, on my notes, and for my projects in general, I tend to pick the opposite side of what I normally argue because I want to research other standpoints so that I can kind of find similarities and differences in what I agree to. Because, like I said before, I find this class very interesting because it opens my mind up and I want to challenge that. So I did choose restraint, but I do agree with um, activism more because, like you said, Jibs, Plessy versus Ferguson and things like that are just things that cannot be repeated in history. History repeats itself, but that's just something that cannot happen because it's just it's just
It's just not.
something that we cannot afford, especially in our environment right now, to like take a step
And
backwards
if we
on
keep
that chain.
going restraint, 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 when are we eventually gonna keep going status quo? That's it. Nothing changes anymore.
Because change is necessary for a striving nation. Like we need change to fix, and I'm going to say it, like our nation is flawed and we need change, and activism is judicial activism is necessary for that change. um Cooper, you had something to mention?
Yes, I had my mic muted because my siblings are running
Nice.
around and shouting at the dog downstairs.
Okay. Continue.
But
Nice.
um, anyway, I think I will point out I'm not sure about this, but I think it can be argued that Plessy versus Ferguson is an activism case because
Mm-hmm.
they're determining um, like they're interpreting the Constitution in a way that it's not literally written down. Like it's literally written down that everyone needs to be equal, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's nothing like that. But they, you know, basically ruled that it's constitutional for there to be a separate but equal, bit in society. So
That's
I
actually
feel
a
like
really valid
I
point.
think I see it. My problem is I don't know if it's so you said it's activism. So I guess there's no precedent for that, and so
yeah,
they just went with it.
the only thing they have to go off is the Constitution, and they interpret that in a way that it's not literally written down.
So that's a good
Because
point.
the 14 because separate but equal is, like you said, Jibs, not inherently equal. And it quite, Plessy versus Ferguson obviously goes against the 14th Amendment. And it's just, that is active, like that's judicial activism. Like you said, Cooper, like Mr. Kimble said in class, activism isn't always a liberal standpoint. like the rules are bent um in both right and left spaces.
There's no political
Yeah.
attachment. Sure, you
Yeah.
can say. I mean, I'm sure someone could argue activism is more. I mean, my point would be my viewpoint more liberal. That's what I noticed. But like
Yeah.
Sonia Sotomayor, she's activist
Hmm.
like about the abortion law right now. She's very angry. We haven't nullified the law at all, so she's being
Hmm.
activist currently because. Well, actually, is that activism or restraint? She's more of an activist judge, but
It feels like it's supposed to be activism because she's like, rallying for women's
but
rights,
isn't
but it feels
Yeah.
more
yeah
like restraint because isn't it a constitutional right to have abortion?
It's a constitutional right to have an abortion. That this actually leads me into the point that I was wanted to section into. I actually wanted to touch on here. One second, my dad is playing really loud music.
Is that Mr. Blue Sky?
Yes, one second.
while Moss is muted. So I was gonna say it's activism because she's being an activist for her and her beliefs. But isn't it
I'm
restraint
back.
also
it's
because
it's actually
yeah, it's
restraint.
actually
Yeah.
restraint because Roe v. Wade is a precedent.
If you look at it, Roe v. Wade ruled that the Constitution protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. And I would argue that um, excessive government, or like not allowing a pregnant woman to have an abortion after 6 weeks, falls under excessive restriction.
Not gonna lie, I could argue against myself all day because I just realized we said it was activism, restraint. Then I think now it's activism because she's being active in what she thinks. She thinks that's the right one. So she's an activist judge because whether or not if there's a precedent or not, she thinks what she thinks.
That's a good point. Like maybe she's not actually following a precedent, and maybe in her head she's like, "No,
That's just
this is my
what I think.
opinion. This is what's right for the country."
People
Mm-hmm.
would argue activism is lawmaking, and yeah, pretty much. It's
That's
some.
pretty valid.
It's not the full power. Like they can't enforce it. It's not the full power. They direct policy, pretty much.
Hmm. That leads to like executive orders, and would you guys say that that's a more activist thing, executive orders, because that could be more opinion based with the president, and it could, because the whole purpose of executive orders is Congress agrees with the Constitution. Congress says no, this law is goes against kind of our congressional views, and then the president is like, okay, screw you, executive order, wham bam, yes ma'am, and then
Okay.
and then the executive order is placed, and it's normally out of opinion, but it could also be, it's normally out of opinion, so that would be a more activist um
I
thing,
I
right?
wrote that it was often used as a tool to evade the wishes of Congress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they can't get something passed through Congress, screw it. I'll just, make an executive order. They cannot stop me.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of times it's been used for activism, like the
Mm-hmm.
president acting on their own wishes, what they think is best for the country. Again, 9066. Nowhere in the Constitution does the president have the power to do that to people. But
Yeah, exactly.
Jibs,
Yes,
you were going to say
Jibs.
something?
Yeah. So executive order, but with an asterisk. Only anything that is not specifically given to the Congress. So any powers of Congress they can't do under an executive order. So it's just like a thing I wanted to point out because it's not always they can't do everything. It has to be one of the um, not expressed powers. If it goes under the expressed, it has to go through Congress, pretty much. So that's all I wanted to point out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Um, my dad's watching soccer videos downstairs. Give me a second.
Um. Okay. While you what?
Fun fact: my house has no doors.
No
So
doors.
yeah, no doors. So you can hear
It's okay.
everything.
We'll
All
leave
right,
that
I'll be
in.
right back.
Yeah.
I removed them.
Oh, are you that type of guy to like? I don't know. Your kids locking them in their bedroom, and then you just like take off the door hinge.
Yeah, what's privacy? No door for
No
you.
more
No more
doors.
doors.
No more privacy.
Wait, wait,
Teenagers
wait,
get
wait,
no
wait.
privacy.
Your
Boo.
bathroom has no door?
Bathroom has
Okay.
door. That's like about
Okay.
the only
I was
thing.
about to say,
That would be extremely weird.
I stole the door.
They stole the door. Are you like?
No more door for you. Next is the toilet. No toilet for you. Poop
I
in
think
the
in
hole.
like
No mouse
a
protest.
Minecraft series, someone just went around stealing everyone's door.
Yeah, it sounds like funny Minecraft server
It's
prank.
Hermitcraft, so
Hashtag funny Minecraft server prank gone wrong.
Alright.
He stole all our doors.
Ace
Ooh.
family
Ace family gone wrong. Anyway,
stealing all
No.
my family's doors.
we'll get back on track.
Gone
We're
wrong.
just so you guys know, we're 40 minutes in.
When do you normally stop?
We stopped at
We
22
stopped at
last
like
time.
22.
Oh,
It's fine.
I thought you stopped at an
Totally
hour.
fine.
Do you want to keep going, or
no,
do you
no,
want to
we're gonna
stop?
keep. We're
Really?
just going through it. It doesn't. I don't care how
Alright.
long it takes. So as long as we
pretty much covered everything, but
Never
if
gonna
we have
give
more,
you up. Never gonna
break a roll
let
for
you
someone
down.
listening at 40
Never
minutes,
gonna
around 40
turn
minutes, maybe
around and
maybe around 39.
desert
30.
you.
where did that
I
come
don't know.
from?
But what about your slogan?
Alex and his Halloween party.
What about you guys' slogan?
Keep that in.
Okay.
I'm just such a
keep it in.
good singer.
Moss, how about your slogan?
My slogan is judicial restraint makes America great. You know why I chose that slogan?
Why?
Because it rhymed.
So
I'm thinking of mine right now. I have no idea.
Go ahead, think about it. But I'll say mine. I really like mine. So I have two. So judicial review now, judicial review tomorrow, judicial review forever. Because I think activist. So it's just a funny goof on. Is that George Wallace? Very racist
no
Alabama senator, and he was a governor, I believe.
Yeah, mine is kind of the play on the president who must not be named. His slogan, and I find it funny because he's just such
a goofy goober.
Such a boss that he came up with that slogan, and I just thought that I would just
reincarnate.
Take it from him.
Oh.
Like he has done to so many other people. Okay.
What a goofball.
What a goofy man.
Goofy goober.
Not very bussin' on God of him.
Oh my god.
So my other slogan, I really like this one. So it's for activism. So it's for overturning stuff, right? So yesterday's laws were the grandfather clause. Today's ruling should be its undoing. I just thought it was.
Oh yeah, you showed that one to me. I was so proud of you.
Oh,
that
thank
was
you.
a really good one.
I actually like English when it's not being jammed down my throat. So.
Yes, English sucks, man. It's like so confusing, and it's so.
It's that one subject no one likes 100%. You could be a math guy.
Yeah.
You can be good at it.
You could be a math guy. You could be a history guy. You could be a geography guy. You could be a science guy.
You could be a Spanish guy.
You could be the Spanish guy. So, any more to add? And any more? I mean, I'm sure. So, just a summary because we're kind of ending up here. Judicial branch, top tier, 100%.
Top tier, very good. Needs to be publicized more often. Like, people don't appreciate it for what it is, and it's just like a very valuable part. Like going back to the seesaw analogy, like without the judicial branch on one end of that proverbial seesaw, then America would crumble, to be honest. Because without the judicial branch, the executive branch would be like, what do we execute now? And the legislative branch would be like, just make laws. Shaking in its boots. Make laws.
Just do it, guys.
Make laws.
They're going to be like...
No checks.
Yeah, I mean, without the judicial branch, the president might become a tyrant and make like JFK and imprison all those Chinese people off the Gulf Coast.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
No.
What?
I'm so
Okay,
confused.
hold on. Hold on. This is an
You'll
AP
be
Gov
back
podcast.
soon.
AP GovCast.
We need to end by singing Hamilton,
No.
guys.
No.
I did
Yes.
not
No.
watch that.
Yes.
Anyway, Cooper, anything more to add?
Yes.
The judicial branch is cool, and restraint is cool.
I agree with that statement.
So
can we sing Hamilton
and
now?
not yet. So I like so just a summary. I think a judicial branch is probably the most important but undervalued. Everyone loves the president. Everyone loves that one guy half the country votes in and then the other half is mad about. But it's a judicial branch that carries they're like out of the three, they're the least political because they have to be. They shouldn't be
Yeah.
too political with their views or like should too open like to the public about this or that. But I think it's really important. Anything else?
Yeah, and like Mr. Kimble says, he says that they're not supposed to be political, but sometimes it slips through the cracks.
It's inescapable. I would say as long as they do it moderately without like fronting it. They don't always say like that. They don't always make it about all politics. It's more constitution for them. All right.
Yes. I think that's pretty good.
It. Any last words?
If bussin' on God, David Christopher is my idol, and I need to up his status from weird millennial man to teen.
Okay. All right.
Teen.
Well,
when you saw it 1 hour ago.
Okay. So that's it. We're done. We'll be back maybe next project. I don't even know. Maybe Alex will be back for this one, but this one doubled last time. So interesting. All right.
There's a lot of talk about.
That's the Kimble cast, and we're signing out.